I call the member for McKellar.
Speaker. Firstly, can I start by thanking all those people involved in caring for our elderly. It is done in very difficult circumstances by a lot of people across all parts of Australia, and it has been done so for many years. And I mean, Deputy Speaker, I'm talking about everyone from the providers, the back office workers like the member for Lily, who I'm sure did a very good job, to the people on the floor who make it happen and who deal with very difficult circumstances, where there are people with dementia, people who are often trying to escape, people who think they're in a different country, Deputy Speaker. We are not talking about your average workplace. We are talking about exceptionally difficult circumstances for a lot of people. As some of you in this chamber have been bored to death by me in previous speeches, thank you, Member for Fenner. A little less enthusiasm next time, thank you. I started a company in 2004. It was Carewell Health, and it was a manufacturer, designer and supplier of healthcare equipment and furniture, almost primarily to the aged care sector. I remember the first time I walked into an aged care home, a nursing home, which was Uniting Care at Drummoyne. As the doors opened, it was like a giant blast of ammonia coming out and being physically revulsed at the smell that was coming from the nursing home. That's not to pick on Uniting Care, though I did over time notice there were better providers than others, but it was to say that that was how we looked after our tribal elders as we got at that time in 2004. I have to say that what I observed over the next 15 years, the next 12 years, was a revolution in aged care. We allowed private sector investment in the aged care system. It replaced that investment, replaced what could only be described as some very basic aged care facilities with what now resemble five-star resorts. And I'm talking about companies like Signature Care, companies like Bupa, companies like R-Care, companies like Regis. These are companies now, Deputy Speaker, that if you were to go into some of their facilities, you would be wondering when you could move in. They are literally that good. I noticed on the weekend that Peter Van Onselen revealed that his mother used to own aged care facilities, I assume, in Perth, and that she never wanted to end up in one. And I felt like, as I read that, saying, I can imagine that was the case 15 years ago. But 15 years later, the truth is that many of these facilities are state-of-the-art, some of the best places to be. And while this government has more than tripled the number of home care packages, I have to say that I worry about home care packages. I think they're more service than they are care, and you find a lot of our elderly stuck in very large homes in the suburbs of Australia. And the greatest killer, many doctors now believe, that social isolation kills more people than cancer in Australia, and that these programs actually have the impact of isolating people. So we have gone through a very difficult stage during this pandemic. They were our most vulnerable. As the Minister for Immigration and the Minister for Health pointed out, our results in Australia leave the rest of the world in our dust. We have had some of the lowest death rates, the lowest infection rates in aged care of any nation in the world. That didn't just happen, that happened through good management. And most of what those opposite are speaking about, the lack of workers at the moment, well, that's actually coming down to the fact that the vast majority of people, a large number of people who work in aged care came from places like the Philippines, Tibet, Burma, India. And we have not had our borders open for the last 2 years for that workforce to come in. That is now going to change. And I'm sure they are some of the best carers that you will ever see.
Time has